All right, I want to say welcome to it. This is Everyday Lessons Now. And by now, if you're now tuning in for the first time, we say welcome and howdy and happy week to all our regulars, because now we are seasoned podcasters. We
Yes, indeed.
we know how to do this thing. We've been doing this thing. People been enjoying the thing. It's been happening. It's been great. The journey's been amazing. And we've been working with it. With everything that we face with on a daily basis, we come and we bring it here. Everyday Lessons. Want to welcome Dr. Amala once again. Good day.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. Another Monday. Well, another Monday when it's uploaded. Happy week to everybody.
We speak any Monday. We it's not Monday when we tape, but we speak any Monday.
Right.
So it's a fresh. You're coming off the weekend. So for those of you coming off the weekend, we hope you had an amazing weekend, and we bid you a great week ahead.
Indeed.
And we're here to give you today's lesson. Everyday lessons, that's what we talk about. But today's lesson to start off the week and to give you something to think about going into a brand new week. And in this case, it would be, I can't even say what month it's going to be, because we are so efficient over here that we have these episodes going like that, like clockwork. You understand? But whatever is the date today, we hope you're having a great one. We know it's a good day wherever you are.
Indeed.
It's a good day wherever you are.
in the cyberverse.
Yes, it's a good day. So once again, I want to say welcome. So what we dealing with today? What's today's lesson?
So today I want to talk about setting boundaries, because I feel like that is important, and it sort of ties into some of the other things that we've spoken about before. So it sort of puts a bow, on some of the things, because setting boundaries has a lot to do with being self-aware, so that you know that boundaries are necessary. It has to do with relationship management, because obviously there has to be someone else or a group or organization or something, and that's why you need to set boundaries. So that's one of the things that you would use to bring everything together. And sometimes setting boundaries is simple, other times it's quite difficult, and that's why I kind of wanted to talk about it and give some examples and so on, because I've seen some stuff in the media, and I realized that adults have issues with it, and if we are the ones that are setting examples for young people, then we perhaps as adults need to do a better job. So sometimes when someone says, I need some space, or you need to set limits, or they want to determine what is acceptable behavior, all of those things are tantamount to boundary setting. And when you get to the point of understanding that, hey, there needs to be a limit to this, or maybe I need some space from this relationship or from my supervisor or whatever, you realize that someone is stepping on some kind of invisible line that you had, and you just want to now protect that space. And that is okay. It's okay to want to do that. You just need to be able to understand what are some of the tools that you should use so that you can do that. And people always seem to think that I would say there's a misconception between setting boundaries and like having some sort of fence up where people believe that they can't talk to you, because that's what it gets to when if someone, and I guess you would know if someone says to you, well, I need to talk to you about something, and you say, no, I can do this tomorrow or whatever. The next natural retort is probably, so I can't talk to you now. And that the sort of pushback that you get says that other people, one, could not be self-aware or don't understand relationship management, so they're not giving you the sort of respect, I would say, that you needed in that moment. And boundaries don't necessarily have to be something with major distance. Yes, they could be physical, but they're also mental and emotional boundaries. Because while like now in the pandemic, for instance, we have a lot of physical boundaries. So, there's social distancing, and when you go out, you have to be in small groups and that kind of thing. So those things are physical, and they really are boundaries. But then you also have mental and emotional boundaries. So mental boundaries, for instance, would be if you decide not to put your work email on your phone. That's a mental boundary, because you don't want to be connected to work all the time. And that's a good one to have, so that there is some kind of definite cutoff. So once you get home, that is it. When you go back to work, you're back at work. That's actually a very good one.
But let me cut you. There is a level of bullying that goes on with that. I know this sounds weird, me saying bullying. How does bullying fall? Let me tell you how. I have a personal experience with a guy that works at the radio station. He was bullied into getting a smartphone.
Oh, wow.
And when I said that, nobody understood why I was defending him, because they looked at it as he keeps them back. Listen, It's exactly what you just said, boundaries. He tried to set boundaries. He said, correspondence with me is between such and such time. When I leave the building, I'm not going to call announcers or anybody to program any stuff on air, because you have a deadline to bring in your stuff by 2:30 in the afternoon. If you want to add program or whatever, this is my cutoff point. You bring it and I have it done. You don't finesse a client or finesse somebody and say, yeah, we'll get up for you tonight. And the person waiting to hear it at 7 and it can't go up because the guy to do it is not there.
Right.
Because he's already left, because he said, and I have seen over the years, and it was so funny inside of the pandemic, when I was away, I didn't know I was away for a while, and when I came back, I was shocked when a day I got a WhatsApp, and any WhatsApp, I was like, this is so and so. I was like, but we doing WhatsApp? I never knew you had. Yeah, and we and him had a conversation a couple of weeks ago in the kitchen, and I was asking him, like, why you did that? And really and truly, his words were like, pretty much they bullied me into doing it. Everybody ganged up on him because of, he tried to set a boundary, but they felt as though he was doing them a disservice, not the company. Because the policy is you bring your stuff in at a particular time, and they try to make it look as though because the pandemic, people use the pandemic freely, is here and things are different. It's showing like a lack of progressiveness, for want of a better word. They're saying that how he's not proactive, he's reactive, and because he's not moving in their time, they beat their drum because they're running around trying to do things to help the business. Not that. Is you all are so selfish and lazy and inefficient.
Because he gave you a time.
And if you were doing your job and you made it clear to your clients will conform. They will know, hey, I need to have this information to John before such and such time. As I'm not going to get it today, I'm going to have to wait till the next day. So it falls exactly in what you're talking about. In setting those boundaries, you also have to remember you can't bully people into doing things your way.
Right.
When they are trying to set a boundary with you, you try to
unless it's life and death and their life is in jeopardy. That is the only time that, if you can save someone's life, then it might be fine.
Well, let me just say, in radio, nobody's going to die.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
The only person dies in radio is somebody reading a newscast about somebody dying. What could be life and death is, let's say, for instance, your country is in turmoil, a coup, or the prime minister was assassinated. What you might want is for your head news person to call you, to jump on it, to get there, to give the correct information.
Right.
But that is not it's life and death you're speaking on, but it's not to say the business is going to shut down because your head of news didn't get there in time to let your listeners know. Because every major news outlet or media outlet wants to be first. That's the name of the game. So you call in your best team, and if something happens in whatever part of the world, you fly your biggest team out there to go cover the story, yada, yada, yada. Those things happen. But all with that going on, still have to have boundaries. You can't expect to call somebody at 2 o'clock in the morning, as you just say, for something that's supposed to be uploaded as opposed to nobody died. You think so? Right. I just wanted to say that because I remember, as you say, to click
you
that.
You had a real life story.
Yeah, a real life story with someone who, and I felt sorry for him, I'm being honest. He was cool, but you could tell the way he spoke to me is like, I don't like it. I'm doing this. Right. I'm doing this under duress.
Grudgingly.
Yeah. I'm doing this grudgingly. I don't like it, but everybody gang up on me because that was his exact word. They gang up on me and say, I have to get it because he's living a humble life. The guy was very cool, doing his job 8 to 5. He clocks out, he goes home, he does well, but they force him into being a part of this new world because it suits them. And as you say, they're inefficient. They're not doing what they're supposed to do in the right time and blaming it on we need money and it's the pandemic. And I just think you need to work harder, that's all, to get the job done. So we can move on.
Yeah, so, you need to be able to set emotional boundaries as well. It's not just mental, but there needs to be emotional boundary setting as well. So emotional boundaries would come with things that would aggravate you to the point where you are not your usual self. So if you're usually a happy-go-lucky person or whatever, things bother you and you end up with stress and anxiety because someone else's behavior is affecting yours. So you ought to be able to go to them and say, this is what I'm going to do because I don't like this. And so some of the skills that you need to set those boundaries would be, first of all, knowing your own limits. So if you know what your triggers are, you know how much work you could take home if you take work home at all, what level of jokes you could take, that kind of thing. Then you need to say, hey guys, after this, that's it, and as long as people understand that, that's fine. And that's a skill that you could develop. It takes time, but you could develop it. Another one is communication. So going back to developing your emotional vocabulary. As long as you're able to express with words, because when you get to expressing with action and you start lashing out or you shut down or whatever, that's not helpful at all. Because people, be like, oh, but she changed. Why? What happened? Because you didn't express clearly that this is what I did not like. So communication is important. Then you want to be able to discuss the differences between what you need as a person who works in that organization, as a person who is in this relationship, whatever, you want to discuss what that difference is with what the other party needs, because you don't need the same thing. So as long as you can articulate that, then that's another way that you can set a boundary. You also need to know what your values are and what your ethics are. So people would come, as we would say, in local parlance, people would come at you sideways, then you're like, but that is not me. What are you talking about? So as long as you know what your values are, then you're able to set a boundary and someone would understand, okay, well, I was misinformed. I misconstrued what you said. Your actions looked as if, whatever, so you have to know where your line is so that they know when to stop or they know when they've crossed it. Then the next thing, you need to understand in your head what you're going to do when the boundaries are crossed, if or when the boundaries are crossed. And obviously, if you're thinking of setting boundaries, you've had boundaries crossed. So what do you do? How do you deal with it? How do you respond? And then use whatever happened as a lesson. Don't be angry and bent out of shape about it, but use it as a lesson now to understand how you're going to do better going forward. Because obviously you don't want the same thing to happen again. You don't want it now to become like a cycle, so you want to look at what you could do differently. And the one skill that I think is the most important one, and it's the last one that I have, is do not postpone addressing it. Because the longer you take to respond to something, then, people are, but when you come to somebody with it, eventually it's almost like, oh, well, had you said that a month ago, then, and I'm not saying that there's a statute of limitations on when your boundaries should expire or when they should be drawn up. However, if you take a long time to come to say something about it, then it seems like your boundaries are really not firm. There's a line that could be pushed, maybe the fence is low, we could jump over, and you don't need that. So you want to address it as quickly as you can, maybe. And we've spoken about sometimes walking away, so practicing the pause, and then you address it when you're a little more calm about it and you're not about to just blow up in the person's face. You can come back and say, listen, what you did yesterday really was not, in the best of, you didn't do it with the best of intentions, and this is not how I want us to proceed going forward. So you have to be able to say it, but you want to come when you are calm. And so we can think perhaps of a couple of situations where boundaries need to be set and discuss them so that, you guys understand what that would look like in the real world. So Taryn has already given an example of someone at work being bullied into, getting a smartphone so that everybody else's job could go on. But there are other things. There are things, even in relationships, where sometimes you might be asked to do something and you don't get to it right away because you don't get to it right away.
Yeah, you just do it.
So, that might be a boundary that someone else needs to set. And they say, listen, when I ask you to do something, I perhaps expect it to be done like in 48 hours.
Yeah.
So that's your window.
And once it's mentioned, the person on the other side just have a better understanding, as opposed to just leaving it unattended and you getting angry. And then that escalates into something and the person who did not do what they were asked now lost. So you really ain't on so for that?
Exactly.
Because to them it might be trivial, like, But I didn't know you were that young, so I didn't know it was that important to you.
Right.
But they won't know if you don't articulate the fact that it's important to you and you want it to be done. When I say I want it to be done now, I really want it to be done now.
Exactly.
It can't wait.
Exactly.
And you then say things like, listen, I asked you to do A, B, C. When I ask for C, I want it done. But A and B is fine, you know.
Right.
So that's a way of communicating and saying,
yes,
well, you know, yeah.
Or you could preface it when you're asking for a favor. You start by saying, hey, when you get some time, could you do this? So the person you're asking understands, well, it's not critical. I could get to it tomorrow. So it's up to them to prioritize or to ask for clarity and say, well, when you say get some time, when exactly do you need it?
That is how proper communication goes. So you then have a clear understanding as to, okay, let me know exactly when you need it for. So, and then I give me an opportunity to say, well, okay, I need it for Wednesday at 12. Well, here what? I can't do Wednesday 12. What about if I could do Wednesday 5? Could that work or that can't work? And then you could say, well, no, it can't work. I'll look for somebody else. Or, sure, no problem. I will move around when needs to move around. I will do it at 4. It's that simple. And
it is. It really is.
And that's basically how you really set, and that's basic boundaries. Then there are major ones as well. Let us not get carried away. There are boundaries with respect to, like, messaging
like social
and calling.
Media, for instance.
And messaging and calling. Like, it's very inappropriate if someone, like, I don't see, like, if you can't think for everyone. You know, sometimes you believe that you will do something unexpected from others. Like, I would not be crazy. I get up really early, as you know that, right? I would not message somebody at 4:15 when I just get up, unless me and that person had a conversation before, and the person say, hey, do me a favor now, when you get up, I know you get up early,
let me know whatever,
shoot me a call because I want to do so and so early, and I wouldn't mind the wake up call. Hit me a wake up call or shoot me a message. But to randomly message somebody, and that is inappropriate, and like late hours in the night. Like, wasn't you giving me the story about a couple who the guy was unsure how to approach his girlfriend because she carries on with conversations with the other sex all through the night?
Oh, wow. No, that wasn't me.
Or somebody, I don't know if it's on air or somewhere, and they wanted to make it into a topic. But it now clicked him as you mentioned that. What happened was, the story is, let me see how our time looking. He said he's observing his wife. This is his wife and not girlfriend. Talking to, I think it's a co-worker or somebody from the opposite sex, a guy. 11, 12 minutes to 1 in the morning. Kakain. Like, you know, WhatsApp, back and forth WhatsApps and his jokes and his casual conversation. So he was saying he thinks it's inappropriate. So approached to her and she took the defensive but I don't care who you talk to. This is my friend. If you want to talk to somebody, you go ahead and talk to somebody. I think that is just a cop-out to try and justify you doing something wrong. Because at the end of the day, not saying that it's anything romantic or sexual they're talking about, it doesn't even matter. It's just a matter of principle and respect. You are in your bed at 12:45 with your husband.
Right.
And you find it appropriate to be talking to Marlon and laughing till 1:45 in the morning. Like, come on.
Is Marlon's significant other? And if he doesn't have somebody, then he is not the person that you should be talking to at that time. Not every night. If Marlon has an issue, fine. But
that's my point. If Marlon is going through something and you are there supporting him, your spouse will know, because at the end of the day, he will be read into the fact that he'll be like, hey, baby, what's going on? You remember Marlon from so? You wouldn't believe it. You know, his dad just died. So that, because we had that's a story today. One of Abby's friends, grandfather passed, and it was sad because he's a big Calypsonian, mighty bomber. That is his granddaughter. Is good friends of ours, and she called to say, less than a month later, her granny gone.
Oh boy!
So the granny grieved the husband, and she's gone 3 weeks later. So the family is uprooted once again. You just buried your dad. Well, in this case, her granddad, but in her parents' case, in her mom's case, her dad, and now you're burying your mom. You understand? So something like that, you have a friend like that, and they reach out and you're talking to them. But again, your significant other will know, because they will be privy to the information.
Of course.
So these are other boundaries too that has to be clear. You have to have an understanding with your significant other, saying, well, hey, I don't think these things are appropriate. During the day, it's all well and good. You could balance your conversations with whoever, but comes a time when nighttime, I don't think it's cool for you to be on your phone, because you're cutting into our time too. So say, for instance, I had a rough day and I wanted to talk it over with you.
Right.
I wanted to chill with you before bedtime and just unwind and and get things off my chest. I now have to hold back that because you carrying with Marlon about work during the day, all about talking and gossiping about some girl down the hall and this and all just carrying with things that I consider unnecessary. You understand? So again, so that's where boundaries come into play, guys. It works in every aspect, your personal life, your professional life. Everywhere you turn, you have to have some. And let me show you how boundaries are important. We have boundaries in every electoral district all over the world. So you understand why the significance of boundaries. You can't leave one state and go to the next and vote again. That's why boundaries are set. So
they're necessary.
They're necessary. So that's
bring them into your personal life.
Bring boundaries into your personal life. You have to know that, listen, this electoral district, I don't like this and such time, how you operate things, you say this, and how you communicate. So you can also say, listen, I don't like the tone you use when we saying this or saying that or whatever. Right. It bothers me. And you need to be ready to, if you're not comfortable having conversations like that with people in your life, you need to rethink the relationship you have with these people. If you can't have a straightforward conversation with somebody in your life, maybe that person not supposed to be in your life, because it's supposed to come easy where you say, hey, so is the case, and it's water off the back and keep it pushing. That's just how I look at it. That's when you have that kind of relationship with people, you know it good. Once you have to dance around and them don't say this now because they'll feel away. Right. That's not gonna last. It's a waste of time. You fooling yourself.
Exactly.
You think?
Exactly.
So just like that, guys, we done.
Indeed.
Right? So until next time, you know what we do? We leave you dancing. We gone!